welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today I'm going to be creating a cute Christmas gift box, and I'm going to be using this Happy Christmas craft papers from Polkadoodles. So you can see there's a whole range of just kind of like cute Christmassy papers in there, and this Gnome Christmas Joy stamp set. So you can see the images coloured there on the back. So I'll create the box base first, and we're just going to create a simple box. So I'm using terry cobbler cardstock from Stampin' Up. But of course any red cardstock will be fine. Just make sure it's a heavy enough weight for the box. So I'm going to score that at 2.5 inches and at 5.5 inches. I'm going to do that again on the other side as well. 2.5 and then 5.5. So then while I've got my score tool out, I'll also score the base. So if you've seen my videos before, you'll know that I usually make reinforced lids, so that's what we're going to make again today. So it's quite simple once you've made one or two. So I'm going to just leave this a little bit away from the side, and just that little gap there helps the box lid to fit the base better. And then I'm going to score that at 3/4 inch and 1.5 inches, and I'm going to score like that on each side. So again, a little gap there, and score at 3/4 and 1.5. So then I'm going to score all the lines, and back to my base now. And then what I'm going to do is in each corner, I'm going to cut at one side about 1 centimetre away from that score line. And then I'm going to cut right along the other score line. If you prefer working in inches, you could use 1/2 inch. And I know 1 centimetre and 1/2 inch aren't the same measurement, but they both make a good size flap, so that's fine. Just whatever you find easiest to envisage. And we're going to do that on all the sides, so cutting up about 1 centimetre away from the score line, and then straight along that score line. I think I come from a bit of a funny generation where I got taught in centimetres at school, but my mum and dad always taught in inches, so I think I kind of switched between the two a bit. I actually usually find inches a bit easier for card making. Then when it's something like this, I think, oh, that's about 1 centimetre. So that's all 4 done, and you'll see that as I've been going around, I've also just been cutting a little triangle from the edge of each flap. So now I've got these 4 flaps. So I'm going to turn this over, and then I'm just going to put a bit of double-sided tape. You want a nice strong double-sided tape just next to the score line on each of these. This particular tape I'm using is the tearing tape from Stampin' Up. So then all I'm going to do is just take the backing off the tape, and I'm going to make sure that this side lines up with this score line here. I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And you just want to make sure that those corners are nice and neat, because that really improves the finish of your box. It also makes sure that the lid fits properly as well. So there's my box base. Let's move on to the lid. I'm going to fold all the score lines. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see I've got these 4 squares in the corner. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut all the way up this line next to the 4. So then I've got this big flap. Then I'm going to cut off these bottom 2. So then I've got this smaller rectangle flap, and then I'm going to cut off this one here. So we're just creating a flap from this one closest to the centre of the box. And then again I'm going to cut up the sides of the flap. And let's do that on all of the corners. So I'm going to cut up the side of the 4 squares. Then I'm going to cut the 2 off the bottom. And then I'm going to cut off this one by the side. And then I'm just going to cut a little triangle off each side of the flap. So then I'm just going to cut a little notch off each of these end flaps as well. So I'm just going up to this first score line. Then I'm going to grab my tear and tape again. I'm just going to put a bit of tape onto the edge of each of these flaps. And then I'm going to take the backing off, and again I'm just going to line up that corner with the edge on the next side. So I'm just lining up that corner with the edge on the next side. And then I'm going to fold these out, and then I'm going to put some tape along each of these flaps too. And then I'm going to pop that on the top there. And you can see that just fits really nicely. Doesn't wobble about too much. Then I've got these pieces of paper. You can see I've used this from the pack. And I'm just going to decorate the box. So these pieces for the sides measure 2 3/8 by 2 7/8 inches. So you're just looking at 1/8 of an inch smaller than the side of your box, just so you get that nice small red border around the outside. So that's our bottom decorated. So I'm going to decorate around the edges of the top. I'm not quite decided whether I'm going to leave the actual top blank or put this piece of paper on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my gnome and then decide whether it looks better with or without the paper. So then, because this lid is a little bit larger, these pieces measure 3 inches across. That's 1/8 of an inch smaller than the lid, and they measure 5/8 of an inch . So there's that, and like I said, we'll leave that piece and see if we want it at the end. So then I'm going to use this gnome with the presents from the stamp set. So and then I'm using my Altenew crisp black ink to ink it up. I'm just stamping it onto some Unisolar white cardstock. And so then I'm going to use this Island Garden set of Altenew markers, the alcohol markers, to colour it. And actually you'll see these come in with a really nice little stand to put them in. I usually actually keep them in the box so I know which ones they are, but at some point I'll probably have these on my desk when I get a bigger desk, so it's quite useful to have these in the bottom. So I'm going to use the pink pearl first. You can see these have like a fine chisel nib, which actually I find more useful than the alcohol markers with the wider chisel nib. I don't really use the wider chisel nib on the other ones I've got with the wider chisel nib. And then I've got this brush end as well. So I'm just going to do his little nose. And actually I suddenly thought that I think that Santa actually wears black gloves. So I'm going to use my basic black stamping blend. And then I'm going to use Heartbeat and Vineyard Berry for the red. And then I'm going to use Just Green and Hunter Green for the green. And then I'm actually going to bring in the Space Garden set as well for like the yellows and the greys. So I'm going to use Butternut and Pumpkin Pie for the yellows. And then I'm going to use a bit of the Iceberg from this set and then Cloudy Sky from this set. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of kind of texture to the beard. And then let's go in and give him a load of different coloured presents. So I'm just going to cut this out. There are dies to go with this set if you prefer using dies. But I don't have them just now. So now I just want to check whether that looks better just like that, or whether it looks better with the white in the background. I think with the white in the background it looks a bit busy, so I'm going to go with this. So I didn't want it to look too busy, but I did want to tie it into the rest of the box. So I've actually just cut out 3 of the presents off here, and I think I'm just going to place them along like that. So I'm going to glue those presents on. And then I'm just popping the little gnome up on some dimensionals. And then to finish, I'm just going to take my Tonic Studios Bubblegum Bush Nouveau drops, and I'm just going to add that to his nose, just so he's got a nice dimensional nose, which I think would just look really cute. So there's my finished project. So I really hope that you like our little box today. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future projects. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got new videos available. All of the products that I've used for today's project are listed in the description below, and you can also find a picture product list over on my blog if that makes it easier to find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.